Barry Weber. I am the Chief of Police for the City of Wauwatosa Police Department. Today I will provide you some updates to the shooting that occurred on Friday, November 20th, 2020 at Mayfair Mall. The Wauwatosa Police Department is pleased to announce the arrest of a 15-year-old Hispanic male in connection with the shooting at Mayfair Mall. The suspected firearm used in the incident was also recovered at the scene of the arrest. Around 2:49 p.m. on that day, officers were notified of shots fired inside the mall near the lower level Macy's, and that's the main entranceway. Officers were on scene providing medical aid to the victims within 30 seconds of receiving the phone call. An officer's first priority in this situation is to secure the immediate scene and begin rendering first aid. During this time, the shooter exited the mall as other patrons were running out. Unaware that the shooter had left the mall and a perimeter was established and tactical teams were formed to begin clearing the mall of patrons sheltering in place as well as searching for the suspect. The process to completely secure the mall, which contains 1.2 million square feet of space, took approximately 6 hours and involved 7 tactical teams. While tactical teams were securing the mall, investigators were interviewing victims and witnesses to aid in identification of the shooter. Multiple leads that were obtained during this time period, which resulted in numerous hours of investigation. It is important to stress that these types of investigations not only require the identification of a suspect, but preservation of evidence related to the crime. This presents a cautious balance for us as to what to release to the public versus potential destruction of the evidence, compromising our case. Our initial investigation led us to believe that this was not a riot, not a random, and therefore no immediate danger to the public existed. Photos of our suspect were not released to media for fear of compromising the investigation and potential destruction of evidence. It is important to stress that this act of violence was not a random one, but an altercation between two groups. As often happens in these types of situations, innocent bystanders are injured. There were 4 innocent bystanders that received non-life-threatening injuries during this incident. We extend our well wishes and prayers to them for a speedy recovery. On behalf of the Wauwatosa Police Department, I would like to thank the numerous agencies that assisted in this investigation. The bravery, professionalism, and service to community shown by all first responders was exemplary. As a result, the City of Wauwatosa and Mayfair Mall remain a safe community and shopping destination. I would like to express special thanks to our officers, detectives, the FBI, Milwaukee Police Department, City of Brookfield Police for their commitment and invaluable assistance, among others. I'm so proud of the personnel in our police department. They have worked tirelessly to solve this case quickly. We've gotten support from so many agencies, and law enforcement here in Wisconsin and really all of southeast of the part of the state and in Wauwatosa continues to showcase the professionalism and capability that citizens have come to expect. Mayfair Mall is a wonderful place to shop and is a safe place to be. Oftentimes people ask you, is it a safe place to go shopping? And yes, it is. Unfortunately, in our society, an incident of this type can happen at any time and any place. I encourage people to show their support for Mayfair. They have been wonderful partners for us at the police department for many years. In closing, whenever a critical incident like this happens, we receive many inquiries from citizens and news media demanding more information and speculating why we aren't providing more. Understand, in almost every incident, we have more information than we can release. We cannot risk compromising the recovery of evidence, information, or location of the suspects. Thank you for being here, and we'll now take any questions if you have some.
Is the team who was injured in the shooting, is that the same team that was arrested?
There were several members of those groups that were injured during this altercation, yes.
Did they all know each other?
We are still investigating that, their connections.
Did anybody else have weapons on them? Was anyone else arrested?
Several arrests have been made. but we are still investigating those.
Can you tell us about the weapon that was used?
I do not have those details.
Surveillance video, is that available for us? Have you guys seen any video from inside the mall?
There is surveillance video that was not released as the chief had mentioned, due to the investigation and the leads that we had.
Can you talk about injuries sustained?
All of the injuries were non-life threatening. Most of the victims have been released and are recovering at home.
What do we know about the altercation? Other than it being an altercation, do we know what actually caused that rift?
We do not. We are still investigating that.
Where was the teen arrested?
I do not have that location.
Who was the 15-year-old target?
I do not have that information as well. We are still looking into the details regarding that.
Were they gang members?
I do not know that.
Do we know how the suspect, he said he was exiting while patrons were also leaving the mall. Do we know how he left the property, if he did at all?
He left the property on foot based on video that we have seen.
So have everybody involved, they've all been released from the hospital?
I believe most of them have been released. There may be one or two victims that are still receiving medical treatment.
When did officers find him? Did he turn himself in? How could you talk about the arrest itself, how it took place?
Based on some investigative leads, we obtained some search warrants, and the suspect was arrested based on that information.
Is he from Wauwatosa, Milwaukee?
He's a Milwaukee resident.
Can you tell us when that arrest was made?
Last night sometime.
I think that the public was wondering why a picture hasn't been released. According to police witness accounts of the suspect was that he was a white male in his 20s or 30s. It was a really vague description. Could you talk about, how long you guys knew of the suspect and why, again, pictures or videos weren't released?
Yeah, I think the initial information that was put out was erroneous about who we were looking for. We knew that we were looking for a white male, but we didn't know an age or anything. Later that evening, we started developing some leads, and we thought it might be somebody younger than the person that was described. And of course, once we focused in on who the actual suspect turned out to be, being that he was a juvenile, we were not going to release that picture at all.
Did the video help you find the suspect?
Yes, I believe so.
Can you tell us anything about how he was captured?
I think that he was in a vehicle or something, and if I recall, and he was they pulled over the car and scooped him up there.
Was the weapon found?
The weapon was found.
Do you know anything about the owner of the gun?
I do not. I don't.
Was the weapon in the vehicle?
That I'm not sure. And I don't mean to be evasive, but this is so new stuff that's coming through. We wanted to get it out that the person's in custody, because there's no other threats to the public, and everybody who is involved, we believe, have been taken into custody. So there's nothing more as far as that goes.
So I know you said search warrants. Did one of the other shooting victims tell you about the suspect?
Don't have the particulars. The reports are still being written and all that too. So I don't have all that.
And I know I asked this question earlier, but did any of the other victims involved also have weapons on them, and have those been recovered?
I don't know if there were any other weapons, not that I'm aware of.
Do we know if the suspect came to the mall to settle a dispute, or is this something that happened?
Right now, I'd just be speculating, because it seems, and we've seen this in the past, where people have come to the mall and seem to want to settle their scores, but we do know that there was some sort of altercation, and that's when the bullets started flying. So
Is there a confirmation of how many bullets were actually shot?
I've heard some different numbers, so I would probably be giving you some wrong information because it always changes. So we're going to have more for you as in the next couple of days and stuff too, and we'll have some other things.
What time was the suspect arrested yesterday?
I don't have the specific details. I know it was in the evening time.
Yeah, in the evening sometime.
Can you kind of talk about charges moving forward? Is that something?
I'm not sure that they've even brought it to the district attorney yet, as far as what the discussion will be. That's usually something that probably happen tomorrow. Okay.